This is perhaps the most ridiculous and unfair comparison that you can imagine. In this corner, we have the U87AI from Neumann. It's a classic, it's a standard. And in this corner, we have the U87AI from Temu. What could go wrong? Well, as it turns out, a lot could go wrong. Okay, so let's start out with the basics here, comparing the build on these two specimens. The Neumann offers a classic silhouette and a barrel body with one of the most recognizable grills in all of audio. It feels premium in every respect when it's in your hands. On the body, you're going to notice a few switches. One is for polar pattern switching, one is for pads, and the last one is for low-cut options. It's pretty standard fare for a lot of condenser mics these days. The shock mount is a metal design, and again, it's all premium. On the other hand, well, we have the Temu version. And well, basically everything I just said, take that and reverse it. As for the body, it actually does feel pretty good and sturdy, though that's where the nice things to say kind of come to a halt. They didn't rip off the grill though, as this is just more of a generic design. Actually, extra points for that. It would seem rather blasphemous otherwise. And hey, remember all those switches on the Neumann? Well, the Temu one doesn't actually have them or anything. In the place of the polar pattern switch, you have a sticker. It's a pretty sweet sticker, but kind of unnecessary if you ask me. Now, the real fun happens when you get to the shock mount, though. Now, this is a level of plastic I've never seen on any kind of audio gear. Now, I do like to politely nudge certain brands for their plastic. Most notably, though, has to be Zoom. This, however, is several steps below that. Instead of Zoom plastic, I think I'm going to categorize this as closer to McDonald's toy plastic. It's all kinds of horrible. But I mean, you do have to cut costs somewhere, right? So then, let's take a look at the PCBs on each mic. Now, this isn't my U87AI, and opening it while the owner isn't around would be a complete and utter disrespect. So I'm just going to pull a pic off of Google and show you this is what the inside of a U87AI looks like. And this is the inside of the U87AI from Temu. They are not the same. Okay, so let's test out the off-axis rejection and coloration of the Neumann U87AI. This is me speaking into the front of the capsule from about 4 inches away. Now I'm speaking into the side of the capsule from about 4 inches away. And now I'm speaking into the rear of the capsule from about 4 inches away. Now let's do the off-axis rejection of the Temu U87AI. This is me speaking into the front of the capsule from about 4 inches away. Now I'm speaking into the side of the capsule from about 4 inches away. And now I'm speaking into the rear of the capsule from about 4 inches away. Now let's do the proximity effect test with the U87AI from Neumann. This is me speaking about 6 inches off the front of the capsule. Now I'm directly on top of the capsule. About 6 inches, directly on top. Now let's do the proximity effect test of the U87AI. This is me speaking about 6 inches off the front of the capsule. And now I'm directly on top of the capsule. 6 inches away, directly on top. Now let's do a sound quality comparison going back and forth between them, but we're also going to include some EQ and compression because EQ and compression is what really brings some of the negative qualities out in a microphone. It's not just a dry recording. And a lot of people don't understand that. No microphone ever goes to the final processing stage without processing on it. It's always going to have EQ. It's always going to have compression and probably 100 other different little plugins applied to the microphones. The problem with a lot of those plugins, though, is they really do bring out the pimples in a microphone. It's almost like it shines a light on some of the negative aspects of the microphone. So as we go back and forth with you hearing the compression and the EQ on both of these, what do you think as I go between them? Now, if you've watched some of the videos on this channel, you might think that I'm not a massive fan of the U87AI, and it's not really the full truth. I just don't think it's worth almost $4,000. But despite that, I do have a tremendous amount of respect for Neumann microphones, as well as the company themselves. I just don't own any. And that's because there are a lot of cheaper mics that sound fantastic and stand up to the more expensive microphones. Again, like the NT1 from Rode. If you were to record a full album with just NT1s, not a single person would notice or really care. However, microphones like the Neumann U87AI do have a place in recording studios and voiceover booths for sure, especially for those that can afford it. And that's a big deal. Considering there are people out there that can't afford the NT1 and view it as I view the U87AI, I get it. But while you have a rate of diminishing return as you climb the product stacks and get into the uber expensive microphones, the difference between this mic from Temu and the NT1 is way bigger than the difference between an NT1 and this U87. But then when you line the mics up and look at their prices, it doesn't all add up, does it? So I guess the question is then, is this, the U87AI from Temu, a good option for you if you can't afford something like the NT1? Well, let's answer that with everything we've learned in this video. So let me be clear, this is not a great mic, which doesn't do it any favors when you're considering price to performance. The cheap microphone market has come a long way in recent years for sure, but these guys, it doesn't seem, got the memo. Now, the main issue with it is the noise off the microphone, which doesn't seem like much at first, but when you start compressing the audio, it becomes more of an issue. Also, you can hear some of the distortion in the audio as well, just making this useless as a microphone. And not to mention, the off-axis rejection and coloration were pretty bad, and the proximity effect is a bit of a mess too. Now, I'm all for cheaper microphones, and I think you can make world-class audio with something like an NT1, but what are you paying for here? It isn't the design of the PCB. Really, it isn't the stellar design on the shock mount either. What you're paying for is probably just the raw materials and a bit of money plopped on top of that so the company can make some profit. So then I don't think I need to say this out loud, but you're wasting your money buying this off of Temu. But I'm hoping you already knew that, right? Now, honestly, for a few extra bucks, you can get yourself a P120 from AKG that's not that much more expensive than what I spent on this. If you're in need of a decent condenser without breaking the bank, saving up those few extra dollars will be worth it in the long run. Consider this. I've owned my P120 for 3 or 4 years, and it's still a trusted mic that I reach for. And I know Dylan, my buddy from the Friday live stream, does as well. And he's owned his for twice as long. Those microphones have paid for themselves in service 10 times over. Perhaps, though, if this is the last piece of evidence you needed to pick yourself up a U87AI, well, I'll have links to this down below. I don't expect. Anyways, cheers, guys, and thanks for watching.